Hello and welcome to the penultimate episode of Cold Case Christmas. Just one more episode to go tomorrow, and then it will be Christmas Day, and this mini-series will be over. Hope you've enjoyed it. For those of you who've missed some episodes, then check out the playlist. They're all in there in order, so you can just run through and watch them all. This case is out of British Columbia, Canada, and it's about the disappearance of 3-year-old Casey Rose Bohun. Let's get into it. Sometime during the early morning hours of August 5th, 1989, the tiny red-headed Casey Bohun went missing from her bed in Delta. She was 3 years old, same age as my own daughter at the time, says now retired Detective Mike Leary, who worked on the case for 9 years when he was with the Criminal Investigation Branch in Delta. It was the August long weekend, said Leary. Casey's parents were separated. Her father, Don, had moved to Kelowna, and Casey's mother, Barb, was living with her new boyfriend, Jonathan. So what happened on this fateful day? The family had spent the day with Barb's sister Beverly at their mother's home in Maple Ridge. Around 11 p.m, the group returned to Casey's home in North Delta, which is about 25 miles from Vancouver in British Columbia. Beverly had come with them and she stayed for a beer. Casey had been acting up, so she may be overtired. She's only a little 3-year-old girl, a very busy day. You know how it is if you've ever had a toddler. Once they get overtired, then they're a bit of a nightmare. So Barb put her to bed. After Beverly finished her beer, Jonathan left for about 10 to 15 minutes to show Beverly how to get onto Alex Fraser Bridge to go home. Barb told police that she had a headache, so she took a couple of Tylenol and fell asleep on the sofa. What happened during the night, in fact during the next 9 hours, remains a mystery to this day. At about 10 o'clock in the morning, a couple of Jonathan's friends came over. Jonathan was filling up a little pool in the backyard, and the woman asked Barb where Casey was. It's a good question, because she wasn't in her bed. The family called the police, and one of the biggest searches ever held in the lower mainland area of Greater Vancouver, British Columbia, was launched. It was a massive search with bloodhounds, volunteers, the whole 9 yards, right? The local police threw every resource they had at this search for little Casey. It went on for days, said Leary. Casey's mother fell apart, absolutely fell apart. She started to drink really heavily, and although she joined Alcoholics Anonymous, according to investigators, her life continued to be troubled and spiraled downwards. In the mid-1990s, Jonathan left to take a job teaching English in Korea, leaving Barb alone to cope with her other 2 daughters. Stacey, who had been 1 at the time of Casey's disappearance, and Shona, who was born the subsequent year. Unfortunately, Barb checked out of life. She leapt to her death from the Patullo Bridge in 2001. Shortly before Barb's suicide, both of her daughters were taken into state care by social workers concerned over her method of discipline. Stacey was taken into foster care, and Shona was sent to live with her dad in South Korea. Shona was Jonathan's biological child. As some of you might be thinking at this moment, new boyfriend, child mysteriously goes missing while mother is asleep. Jonathan had long been a person of interest for the detectives on this case. After Barb's suicide, the police still continued to have concerns about Jonathan. They thought at the very least he had key information about what happened to Casey. We believe he has not given us all the information he's had in his possession which would assist us in finding out what happened to Casey, Leary said. Sergeant Guy Leeson of the Delta Major Crimes Section said, "This case isn't closed. All missing persons files stay active until we resolve it, either by finding the person or human remains." Leeson said, "As people age, as their life circumstances change, I'd be hoping that somebody who does know something, who didn't share it, might now have a reason to come forward." But no, not to this point. Over the years, police have worked through several theories. Casey may have been kidnapped by a stranger. She may have been killed by someone close to her, either by accident or intentionally. Or she may have been removed from her mother's house in a rescue operation by someone concerned for her welfare. All of these theories have been mulled over, they've been investigated, but there's no evidence of anything. This child just literally disappeared overnight. No evidence to support any theory. So although Jonathan remained a person of interest, they had no evidence against him to arrest him. Casey's grandmother Olga said her son Don, Casey's biological father, never recovered emotionally, in spite of being cleared by the police. "It's been a hard battle for him all these years," said Olga. Olga said the family didn't have the means to conduct a private investigation, but she herself had a few theories. She said maybe her mother got angry with her because she had a short temper and she was on drugs. She could have just grabbed her and swung her against a wall. She used to put her under running water or close the cupboard and leave her in there, said Olga. Olga said, "I feel she's alive, but I don't know why." That Casey is alive somewhere, that she was taken by someone who wanted a child to love. It makes the disappearance bearable for Olga. Hopefully she's alive somewhere, enjoying her life. But we just don't know. And this case from 1989, maybe the detectives are right, maybe someone has had a change in life circumstance who's willing to say what they know that they didn't say at the time. Was it right for the police to have Jonathan as one of their key persons of interest? Or was it Barb, Casey's mother? Was Olga right? Did she have a temper? Did she lash out when Casey was playing up that night? We don't know. Barb's been dead a long time now, but people who were there at that time, Jonathan, maybe he's got some information. Maybe Jonathan has confided in somebody over the years who's able to at least tell the story. Come forward. Let Casey's family, her sisters, her grandmother, let them know what happened if you've got any information. And if you do have information on the disappearance or current whereabouts of Casey, then you can contact detectives at 601 946 4411. And that's it. What do you think happened to Casey? Little 3-year-old girl. Where did she go? Was she killed accidentally, intentionally? Or is she, as her grandmother thinks, alive somewhere? Let me know what you think about this case in the comments, and I'll see you very soon for the very final episode of Cold Case Christmas. Bye guys.